Good evening. Welcome to the Paranormal Lens Podcast. Jeez, Dad, I'm fumbling already. Holy cow.
It's a tongue twister, Jamie. It's a tongue twister.
It is something I've said 124 times before, though. So, oh my gosh. Well, welcome to the Paranormal Lens Podcast, one take two, presented by Jotnex Paranormal. I'm Jamie Widener. I will be your host tonight, along with Chad Thomas, as always.
Good evening.
Thomas, sir. Good evening to you. How are things? What's happening? What's going on?
Well, things are good. Things are busy as usual. I had a long day on Saturday.
I understand.
Very long day on Saturday, but it was good. Emmett had a district chorus tryout, so they had to have them at the school by 6:30, and then I was just out running from there and went to Penn State. Went to Huntington, I went to Gettysburg, like hit all three of those places in one day. Ended up at Huntington from like 7:45 till 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Why were you there exactly?
Well, a group that I was, filmed a documentary with was presenting it that night at the theater, and then we had an investigation afterwards.
The Clifton Five, if I'm not mistaken.
Clifton Five, you're correct.
One of our favorite places.
So yeah, I was there with our friends Chris Mendez, Scotty the Medium, Hammy, you know Hammy.
Sure.
And Alex went with me. I'm glad he did to help keep me awake.
Oh yeah, we need that drive home.
He was supposed to drive home, but when he started swerving, I'm like, maybe you should pull over and let me drive.
So teamwork makes the dream work.
So anyway, yeah, it was good. We had a great investigation. The first theater we were in, which was Theater 1, was pretty active. Then we went to 2, and I went under and did the sensory deprivation sort of thing. And Alex said there was all sorts of activity until I came out, and then everything pretty much stopped. And
wow.
So yeah, it was an interesting evening. So
okay, yeah, we had some really cool stuff happen when we were there a while back, and that's a place I've been looking forward to going back to at some point.
Yep. So, Ariel, we're welcome anytime.
Fantastic. It's a cool spot. If anybody's out and about in Huntington, PA, the Clifton Five is an original movie theater, original theater that's been converted into a five theater, like
multiplex.
Redundant terms there, yeah. But 5 screens, and with that, it is an active location. So they have several events where you can come and watch a spooky movie and then stay to investigate after. All for a very low ticket price, which is really, really cool. Of course, bring your equipment with you. So, and Bert's with us saying, I need to get back to the Clifton. Yeah. Apparently, Bert, you forgot how hard you hit your head under the stage.
I remember. And I'm sure Heather remembers.
I think you're still waiting. We're waiting for the bill to come for the damages. Gosh, yeah, that was a fun night overall, and a really cool place.
And if you want more information about it, you can check out season 1, episode 3.
Oh, there it is. Yeah,
we did the Clifton. That was one of the first ones we did.
Okay. Well, if somebody wanted to see this documentary you're a component in, how do they do so?
It isn't out yet, but it will be on the Signal Network on YouTube.
Okay.
So that's if you search Signal Network, it's a network of all paranormal things. So different playlists. So check it out. Keep an eye out there, and I will probably post it on the Paranormal Lens page once it's out.
Okay, good. Yeah, geez, I'm gonna have to start asking for your autograph when I see it. Jeez,
no,
celebrity here. All right,
but what about you? How's your week?
Yeah, the same kind of stuff. Busy, not as actively busy as you were. Friday evening, we went and got our spooky culture on to see Jekyll and Hyde at the Fulton Theater. The haunted Fulton Theater, as we've already covered here. Really good production. And I found after the fact that one of the 2 guys who transitioned it to a musical on Broadway was in the house that night. So that was really cool. And the cast was phenomenal. Just really high caliber actors and just wonderful performance. Really neat stage setup. The only drawback is they utilize a lot of LED screens for backdrops instead of having real physical stuff. But
Yeah.
In the state of
Unfortunately,
the world now, I get it. It's an economics thing, and
but
um,
it's the progression that the world of theater is moving into.
I understand.
And I work in live entertainment, and we used to build things that you threw lights on to light up. Now we build things to hold lights.
Right.
So it's LED screens and things like that.
Sure.
So,
I totally understand it, and it does add some things. There was just a couple problems. There was a scene with the with Dr. Jekyll's closet, and it was full of polo shirts and modern dress wear.
yeah.
It looked like an ad for like a closet company. It was like, oh, okay, that doesn't fit. And there was a streetscape at night with electric lights instead of lanterns.
Uh-huh.
So it was like, it's an
Yeah.
1880s, piece. So,
Okay.
but otherwise, I'm not knocking it by any means. It's still playing, I think, through this weekend.
Okay.
So if anyone's in Lancaster, PA, and you have a chance to go to the Fulton Theater and see it,
Yeah.
please do recommend it. Support your local arts.
I was gonna say support live theater, your local arts, all those things. So
Yep,
it is an art that we don't want to lose.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yep.
we
Sure
are
was.
fans here, so we'll go
So,
every time we can.
yep. So well, good. So
Yeah, and otherwise, stuff happened and things got done. I have no idea.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, welcome to the rest of the weekend.
yep. And you're here. You didn't get abducted anywhere.
Not yet, not yet. The night's not over yet, though. But I could talk to you about somebody who did get abducted, or
Okay.
at least allegedly. So let's get there.
All right.
So tonight's episode is about Travis Walton, and I don't know if you know anything about him or not.
Not really.
Um, okay, well, he is one of his situation is one of the more famous UFO abduction cases in our history in the U.S. And um, let's get started. I'll tell you more. So, um, a night that changed UFO history occurred on November 5th, 1975. That's when 7 men packed up their chainsaws after a long day cutting timber in the dense forest of eastern Arizona. The crew, led by foreman Mike Rogers, piled into their old pickup and began the bumpy drive down the dark forest road. What happened next would become one of the most debated and dissected UFO cases in American history, the Travis Walton abduction. For 50 years, Travis Walton's story has been told, retold, and re examined by skeptics, scientists, believers, and Hollywood producers. To some, he's a fraud who capitalized on UFO fever. To others, he's a man forever haunted by an encounter that defies explanation. Either way, the Waltons' experience near Snowflake, Arizona remains one of the most famous UFO abduction cases in the world, and one that refuses to fade into the background of UFO folklore. Let's start it with Men in the Woods. Travis Walton was just 22 years old at the time, a wiry, adventurous young man known for his hard work and curiosity about the unknown. He and 6 other loggers, Mike Rogers, Ken Peterson, John Goulet, Steve Pierce, Alan Dalis, and Dwayne Smith, were working a U.S. Forest Service thinning contract in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. The job was grueling but straightforward: clear undergrowth, haul timber, and meet the Forest Service deadline. The crew was tired, dirty, and ready to call it a night when the sun began to sink behind the pines. As they drove home toward Snowflake, a strange light caught their attention, a glow filtering through the trees ahead. At first, they thought it was a fire, but as they got closer, it became clear this was something very different. There it was, a hovering disc-shaped object, shining with a dense bluish light about 20 feet off the ground. Mike Rogers hit the brakes, and the truck skidded to a stop. Travis, curious and impulsive, jumped out to get a closer look. The rest of the crew shouted warnings. They wanted nothing to do with it. But Travis kept walking toward the glowing craft, shielding his eyes from the brilliance. Then, a sudden beam of blue-green light shot out from the bottom of the object. It struck Travis square in the chest, and he was lifted off the ground before collapsing like a rag doll. The men in the truck panicked. Terrified, they sped away down the forest road, convinced Travis was dead. When guilt and fear subsided, they returned to the spot, but there was no sign of him. No body, no footprints, just silence. That night would mark the beginning of one of the largest manhunts in Arizona history. When the crew stumbled back into town and told their story, no one believed them. The police thought it was a cover-up for murder. Reporters descended on the small community. Snowflake, Arizona, a quiet logging town, suddenly became the epicenter of a national mystery. For 5 days, Travis Walton was gone. The crew faced intense interrogation, suspicion, and ridicule. The police organized one of the most extensive searches ever conducted in the area. There were dogs, helicopters, and volunteers combing the forest. When law enforcement suggested polygraph tests, the crew agreed. 6 of the 7 men passed, affirming that they had indeed seen something extraordinary. The one inconclusive test came from a logger who was too emotional to complete it. To UFO investigators, this was evidence of credibility. To skeptics, it was an elaborate prank that got out of hand. Either way, something unprecedented had occurred in the Arizona woods. 5 days after vanishing, Travis reappeared, disoriented, dehydrated, and terrified, at a gas station in the small town of Heber, Arizona. He called his brother-in-law, barely able to speak. His first words were something along the lines of, "I'm back. They didn't mean to hurt me." What followed was an extraordinary tale of abduction, one that would cement his place in UFO history. As Walton later told reporters and recounted in numerous interviews after, he awoke lying on a metallic table in a sterile, dimly lit room. Around him were small beings with pale skin, large eyes, and oddly featureless faces. He panicked, striking out at one of them, and they quickly retreated. Walton's description of the interior was classic sci-fi come to life. Smooth metallic walls, rounded edges, and a strange misty light that seemed to have no source. The beings, he said, were about 5 feet tall, with large heads and huge golden eyes. At one point, he claimed he tried to escape and stumbled into another room filled with a star-filled holographic display. There, he encountered human-like entities dressed in blue suits who did not speak but guided him gently back onto a table. And then, nothing. He awoke later to find himself on the side of a road, watching the saucer lift silently into the sky. While his recollection compares to near-death experiences or an elaborate dream, Travis Walton has always insisted it was real. His story remained remarkably consistent through decades of interviews. And in that, the story exploded across newspapers, radio, and television. Chad, this is 1975. There wasn't social media.
Right.
It would have there too. Walton became an overnight sensation, or, depending on who you asked, a symbol of small-town delusion. As you can imagine, the attention was both a blessing and a curse. Hollywood came knocking. Tabloids ran wild. And skeptics like aviation writer Philip Klass tore apart every inconsistency they could find. Walton eventually wrote a book, The Walton Experience, in 1978, which became the foundation for the 1993 movie Fire in the Sky. But the film, despite its success, exaggerated the alien sequences for dramatic effect. Walton himself publicly criticized it, saying it distorted his actual experience, trading eerie calm for grotesque horror. Still, the movie introduced his story to an entirely new generation, solidifying the event as part of an American UFO mythology. For every believer, there was a skeptic ready to dismantle the Walton case. Philip Klass, one of the most verbal debunkers, accused the crew of staging the event to cover up a failed contract or gain fame. Psychologists suggested confabulation, a mix of stress, sleep deprivation, and mass hysteria. Some even claimed Travis was hiding during those 5 days, concocting his story before reappearing. Yet despite repeated challenges, no definitive evidence of fraud has ever surfaced. The CBC, As It Happens archives, presented interviews with Walton from the 1970s, where his tone was calm, consistent, and surprisingly unemotional, not the demeanor of someone fabricating a wild story for attention. And years later, he said, "After 50 years, I'm sick of the debunkers. I was there. They weren't." As the decades have passed, the fascination hasn't faded. Walton still appears at UFO conventions, on podcasts, and documentaries, often emphasizing that he never sought fame, only understanding. And the Travis Walton case remains one of the most documented and persistent UFO stories in American history. Even as the U.S. government publicly acknowledges UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomenon,
Hmm.
Walt's story feels more relevant than ever. His own website, travis-walton.com, serves as both archive and defense, collecting decades of interviews, reports, and his unwavering claim that the encounter was genuine. Skeptics still roll their eyes, but believers see him as one of the few men who's looked beyond the stars and lived to tell the tale. And whether you believe Travis Walton or not, his story captures something universal: our desire to understand what lies beyond our familiar sky. It's easy to dismiss it as fantasy or fame seeking, but when you peel back the decades of documentaries, movies, and debates, what remains is a deeply human experience of wonder, fear, and unanswered questions. As Walton himself said in a recent interview, "I wish it hadn't happened. I wish I could unsee it, but I can't." In the end, maybe that's what makes the Travis Walton abduction endure. It's not just about aliens or UFOs, it's about the thin line between truth and myth and the way extraordinary events can change ordinary lives forever. So that's the gist.
Hmm.
And I wanted to look at this from a slightly different perspective, perhaps turning the paranormal lens toward it. And I wondered, this is 1975, so 54 years ago, November 5th, next Wednesday. It's going to be a full 50 years from the day this occurred.
Right.
In that time frame, how many times have we seen something unusual in the sky, right? And I didn't have the time to dig through 50 years of that, and the number would probably be extraordinary. So I did find some information though in the last year, or this year actually.
Hmm.
So let's talk about UFO sightings for a second.
Okay.
Per ufomatrix.org, 2025 is shaping up to be the most active year for UFO sightings ever recorded. Per
Okay.
data from the National UFO Reporting Center, or NUFORC, there were over 3,000 reported sightings worldwide through July of 2025. For comparison, there were 1,492 reports in the same window in 2024. So almost, well, actually, over 100% more.
Hmm.
And it's only 6 months in. Now we are 9 months in, 10 months now. We're in October.
Right.
That number is extraordinary. So why are there so many? Think about it. We have much better means to document alleged sightings now than ever before. There are 4K cameras, drones, smartphone apps, all things like that are easily available, and the tech in all of them are better than ever. And this may surprise you, Chad, but believe it or not, the government is more transparent than ever in what they see and experience.
Uh,
Thanks for chuckling.
I'll take your word for it, Jamie. I'll take your word for it.
Well, my point to say that is the last couple years anyway.
Right.
The release of the Tic Tac video, where when a fighter pilot is chasing an object at high speed and not catching it,
Hmm.
uh, a ton and tons and tons of declassified files and records related to UFOs and
Right.
UAPs keep coming out. So there's more material available than ever before.
Yeah.
And you know, are we? Is that to say that that's it? Probably not. I'm sure there's more that is documented as classified and so forth that we'll never see. But
Right.
things that are considered safe enough for consumption, normal human consumption. And the reason I think some of this is held back is because the hysteria that it creates. I mean, none of us were alive when it happened, but the release of War of the Worlds, the original radio program,
Hmm.
people lost their ever loving minds, and around the world. And it was meant to be. We covered this in an episode way back. I think it was the Rose Mackenberg episode, perhaps. But
I think
uh,
so.
the people who were listening to who were going to be listening to the program got held up by another episode of something else and came in late, missed the disclaimer at the beginning, saying this was fiction, and heard that Martians are popping up out of everywhere around the planet, and all
Right.
stuff. So, is that possible to happen today? Absolutely. With the spread of information or disinformation, either way, and as much as we are part of it right now, presenting this material
Hmm.
to the world, things can just grow legs and run,
Right.
and there's no stopping it anymore.
Mm-mm.
So, even with disclaimers and things that would be anything to debunk it, you're going to believe what you want to believe. So
Right.
that's part of it. So, in stepping back to the point, are all sightings legitimate? No, honestly, no. Many are misrepresented commercial or hobby drones. I think in New Jersey a couple months ago, a year ago, so now, all the drone sightings that were out. Some are Starlink satellites, that dang Musk guy, uh, or other space debris.
Right.
Some are actual aircraft, things we're just not expecting to see. And some are natural phenomenon, such as ball lightning or atmospheric refracted light. And that was part of when we call back to another episode, Brown Mountain Lights. That was part of the explanation there in North Carolina.
Right.
These lights are occurring, natural phenomenons. Could be the case. But it's something unusual, and therefore it's an UAP. It's an aerial phenomenon. So it is estimated around 15% of all claims remain officially unexplained after thorough review, including radar, infrared, and eyewitness testimony. Chad, perhaps the truth is out there after all. Maybe we should cue the X-Files theme song here. So that's UFOs, and that's something uniquely different than abduction claims. This was a whole lot harder for me to find any actual evidence or documented numbers. So I'll just go with what I found.
Okay.
So per the Center for UFO Studies, which is CUFOS, CUFOS, abduction reports are the most potentially distressing and traumatic of UFO encounters. They purportedly involve direct interactions with beings from UFOs who often take people against their will from their homes, automobiles, or elsewhere on board a UFO. Witnesses are often given some type of examination. Sometimes it's in the butt. Let's be honest.
Yep.
They may interact with others on the UFO. Travis Walton claims he did. And may be shown information about the future course of events on Earth. Often, hypnosis has been used to conduct an investigation because witnesses commonly forget much about the experience, as their captors claim they will. There are some notable abduction cases. The first is the Betty and Barney Hill incident from 1961. This case remains the most iconic alien abduction story in the U.S. The Hills described being stopped on a remote New Hampshire road by a glowing craft, then transported aboard when they underwent medical examinations. Under hypnosis, both recalled the similar details about their captors and the procedures, even though they were in separate spaces.
Okay.
The Pascagoula abduction in 1973. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker claimed robotic beings abducted them while fishing in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Their story, corroborated by a polygraph test and their consistent retellings, remains one of the most credible cases. The Manhattan abduction in 1989. Linda Napolitano claimed that she was abducted from her New York City apartment, an event allegedly witnessed by multiple bystanders. The high-profile case drew media attention and remains a staple of UFO documentaries. In all abductions, there are key takeaways. Alien abductions involve claims of being taken by extraterrestrial beings, often leaving lasting psychological and physical impacts on individuals. These experiences have sparked widespread interest and influenced popular culture. Lots of movies. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is really a great one. Many, many others along the way. Common themes in abduction stories include bright lights, telepathic communication, and time distortion. While many believe in the reality of abductions, skeptics seek scientific explanation for these experiences. And science is about facts, so there are a few that are key.
Right.
The term alien abduction was first popularized in the 1960s after the Betty and Barney Hill case. Many abductees report experiencing missing time where they cannot account for hours or even days. Abduction stories often include descriptions of medical examinations conducted by the aliens. Some people claim to have been abducted multiple times throughout their lives. The most common type of alien described in abduction stories is the gray, characterized by large heads and big black eyes. Many abductees suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, due to their experiences. Some report physical marks or scars on their bodies after an abduction. Sleep paralysis is often linked to alien abduction experiences, where individuals wake up unable to move and feel a presence in the room. Many abduction stories include bright lights or beams of light that transport the abductee to the alien ship. Abductees often describe the interior of the alien craft as sterile and metallic. Communications with aliens is usually telepathic with no spoken words. Some abductees report seeing other humans or even hybrid beings on the alien ship. Time distortion is a common theme, with abductees feeling like hours have passed in what has only been a few minutes. Many abductees report seeing UFOs before their abduction experience. Maybe they're casing them out.
Yeah.
The internet has allowed for the rapid spread of abduction stories, with forums and websites dedicated to discussing these phenomena. Go figure, right?
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So I will close with that. After saying all of that, I will say this. If you have seen a UFO and or believed to have been abducted, you can report it to the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON, at MUFON.com. That's MUFON.com. And at the top of their homepage, there is a red banner for UFO sightings button, and there is a red button for abductions, and a form to follow afterwards.
Okay.
It's rather interesting. And then there is therefore a database. So, said a lot of stuff, right? So let me cite some sources here, and then let's discuss. First, cdufomatrix.org, UFO sightings, 2025 analysis disclosure surge, cufos.org, types of UFOs / abductions, facts.net/society and social sciences / facts about alien abduction, kjzz.org, his Arizona UFO abduction story became legend after 50 years, UFOs, PensacolaBeach.com, the Travis Walton UFO incident, layerofmystics.com, the Travis Walton abduction, PhoenixNewTimes.com, where's Walton, WMICentral.com, 40 years later, Arizona's most documented UFO sighting still draws interest, Travis-Walton.com, the official site, CBCRadio.ca archives the aliens episode, and historicflix.com, was Travis Walton taken by aliens? Okay, so there's a lot here.
There is, yeah.
What's your first thought?
I said that I didn't know anything about this, but the more you talked, the more I almost felt like I did an episode on it, but I didn't.
Right.
It's like I somehow I knew this story, the research. I don't know. I don't know why, but I feel like it is something that I've looked at before.
Okay.
Yeah, being gone for 5 days, showing up, you know, the polygraph, like there's so much that just makes it point to corroborating itself. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I think it happened. I'm going to say, yeah, this one did happen.
Okay. I'm in the same boat with you, but there is something to talk about, and I'm not here to disparage Travis Walton. I want to believe him. I'm the Fox Mulder here. I want to believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other side of it is, and it's a bit of an interesting thing. If we can go back to the slides, I think it's the third one. It's like a localized map. That shows the road, like a drawing map. Not that one.
Give me. I'm going to have to make a change.
Of course. Sorry, I get you. You work the magic. I'll do the talking part.
Talk for a little bit. Give me a second here.
So back in 2021, there was a hypothesis presented that this was a hoax, and because in the area of the location,
is this the one?
Up next one. There, in the lower left corner of that drawing, is the Gentry Tower, which is a 70-foot tall Forest Service fire tower. It's a lookout tower, essentially. So it's up above the tree line. It's meant to see smoke and therefore be able to report a fire.
Right.
It's not far from the abduction site. And the belief of the skeptic here is that uh, it's a 200 square foot living space up there, so it's plenty of room for somebody to be there. It's got a walk around, look out ledge,
Mm-hmm.
so you can access it from all sides. There's a generator to give you power, so you obviously have lights and everything. So the claim is that because it's elevated, someone could have been there with a spotlight, shining it toward the abduction site, helping the hoax of this, and then the crew not being in on the mix of it, panicked as they should or would normally, and took off. And then when they came back after realizing that they needed to check on Travis, they did not come back to the same place, so hence they didn't see the same thing.
Okay.
And that, yeah, sure, maybe. But here we are. I lived in Arizona for a while. I've lived in New Mexico for a while, and generally in the Southwest. So, this is November. The deciduous trees have dropped their leaves. Okay, that's normal.
Right.
But there are a lot of other trees here that are not deciduous. There are fir trees and other pines that keep their pine needles, their needles on, which would have made it rather difficult for a light to shine through from a distance of any kind to be as bold and bright as it's claimed to have been in the original claims, and that have gone through the polygraph test and passed through. So I'm yeah, I get it. I get somebody wants to kind of throw some cold water on this, and I'm not really sure why. Like 40 something years later, people are still trying to do this, but
Right.
like that's a hell of a grudge, right? It
Definitely. Yeah.
is. Um, let him have his flowers and move on. It's a done deal at this point. It's part of our culture. It's like just stop. Travis Walton's like 72 years old. Like let the man be. You know,
Right.
and the remarkableness of this is his story has remained exactly consistent through all these years. Nothing has really wavered. You know, and that's amazing. If someone's telling, the hardest thing to do is tell a lie because you have to remember it every time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Easiest thing to do is tell the truth.
Right.
You don't have to remember anything. So, and the naturalness of wanting to embellish. There's an image of the tower. So, I mean, that's pretty obvious. That something's there. And I guess if it's illuminated, it could look like it's something that's floating, and therefore a spot could occur from it, but it would have to be a
Yeah.
direct line,
I mean,
and a very specific place to be. Like mm,
yeah, I think that one's a stretch. I mean, I
highly
get it,
intentional.
but I think that one's a stretch to think that this tower, could be mistaken for a flying object.
Yeah, I'm in the same spirit with that.
So
And you know, I I will say this: the sheer volume of time and the fact that everybody's in the same boat still.
hmm
There is one slight split recently. Mike Rogers has verbally come out and said he's not supporting Travis anymore. Something to do with a potential production that's being created around this still.
uh-huh.
And I'm sure it's something financial. It seems anyway, and I'm not disparaging Mike Rogers versus
Right.
anything either. I get it. You're in the story as well. So okay, your share of it, all that, but it's he's not saying anything is untrue. He's just not supporting it anymore.
Right.
So even still, here we are with a split. It's still the story's the same.
hmm
It's not like he said, you're right, you got us. We got you all these years, but now you got us finally. It's not saying that at all.
Right.
So that's just straight up amazing to me.
hmm
And through all of this, the Travis Walton story has been shared on 724 unique podcasts, covering 1,058 episodes. Now we are 1,025 or 725 and 1,059,
Uh-huh.
so we're in the mix now. But all of that is just fantastic. The story has just carried and carried and carried. Now podcasts weren't around 50 years ago. I get it,
Right.
but with news and outlets, you know, paranormal shows like Paranormal Witness have covered it. Ancient Aliens, of course.
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
Ghost Adventures, even. Zach and the team went out there. Um, Expedition Unknown have all
hmm
done episodes, and even Chad. Larry King live back in 1993.
Well,
Go figure.
yeah, but on this one, Bert saying not going to do a road trip. No road trip. I don't want to be abducted unless it's a white UFO with candy.
Oh, well, it is trick or treat season. I don't
So
know. Yeah, candy does impact things. I get it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Again, I'm not wavering on this one. I think this happened. I think there's something out there. I'm one of those who believe that we had intelligence on this earth that came from somewhere at some point. Mayans, all the things that were done in that Mesopotamian era with just things there, the pyramids, things like
mhm.
too precise for what we understand from the time period.
Yeah.
Um, and have we gone through phases? I think we've been visited multiple times, and I think we're continually being visited, and we're just turning a blind eye to it. Again, we may not want to accept that. We may not want the idea that there's something out there. We're dealing with an interstellar object right now. 3I Atlas
Yeah.
has come from somewhere else into our solar system, and our like, what is it? You know, it's not acting like a comet.
Right.
NASA has gone pretty quiet on this one,
Yeah.
which doesn't help matters, because now you've got no information coming. Doesn't help that we're in the middle of a shutdown because they're not,
Yeah.
they're dealing with that. But we're just left in an interesting position. They are actually saying that I think the 29th of October, tomorrow, could be an interesting day, because that's when it's going to be getting the most energy from the sun, because it's coming closest to the sun that it will. I'd also seen some other things on different social media stuff recently, that this year we were going to be seeing the aliens were going to reveal themselves this year, starting in Pensacola, which one of your references was Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Pascagoula.
that was Pensacola. I think there was a Pensacola one too, but maybe anyway. But there was a Pensacola, supposedly something in the Pensacola area that was going to reveal itself to those who are worthy. Again, and we're talking about paranormal, where you see things when you need to see them.
Yes. Yep. That's
So,
fair.
I think we're in an interesting time. I think more and more will be caught. More and more has been caught. I mean, we've got fighter jets that are seeing something that's not
Yeah.
explainable.
They can't keep up with it.
Right.
And in our technology, if you would think we being the advanced world
Hmm.
have the best technologies in these crafts, we're not able to keep the speeds up. I mean, that's amazing.
Right.
Um, and some have dipped into the oceans and not resurfaced, which is another amazing thing, because we
But
don't
it's
have
like
the
crashing
technology to
into
do
the
that.
oceans.
It would be a crash if we did it,
Right.
as far as our current craft. But not to have a debris field or anything after the impact is telling that it's beyond us.
Hmm.
And in the sense of things too, with all of the wonderful technologies that we do have, the advanced cameras, the drones, all the apps, and all the feature functional things that we have,
Hmm.
we are also more distracted than we've ever been as a culture and as societies around the world.
Right.
With technologies and all the things, all the stuff that we have, we're not looking up anymore, or at least not as much as we used to be. There are a lot of things scientifically aimed at the skies. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but we as individuals, I can tell you this. I live about 15 miles south of Harrisburg International Airport here in Pennsylvania, and I have a line of sight toward it right outside my door. I walk out. I'm walking a dog one night, walking toward our house, facing that direction, and I see two uniquely different red lights in the sky, one above the other at a distance. And that seems strange enough.
Hmm.
And then the one on the bottom, and I can't tell where they are. I have no depth perception at night.
Right.
That's the challenge. But the one underneath is moving left and right and coming back to center, then going to the other way and coming back to center and going for several minutes. And I stopped. I'm watching this, and my daughter's like, "What are we doing?" Like, come on. And I'm just watching it, and at the point I realize it's happening, and I can't. My phone it's too far away. You can't take the night sky with an
Right.
iPhone, all that stuff. Yeah, it's just a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Apple's got to work on that. Um, hint, but I couldn't get a video of it or anything. Obviously, not a picture, so I have no. It's anecdotal,
Right.
but I'm like, what the hell was that? It didn't belong doing what it was doing. It wasn't a traditional aircraft, therefore, and you know, I don't know. And then eventually it just kind of went away. It faded out. So, um, there are light towers that direction, of course. There's some
Right.
height and elevation along the river. So there's the Blinky towers that we're all familiar with.
Hmm.
This was not that. And it has not reoccurred ever since. And I've been looking for like 2 years, every night I walk the dog. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just like the one time my dog found a chicken bone in the park. And every time we go there, she goes to that spot thinking there's going to be another chicken bone. Right. I'm doing the
Right.
same thing. So I
Yep.
want to see this thing again. So
Right. It's funny we're talking about this tonight. I actually got a chance to walk Maggie before the podcast tonight.
oh,
Um, and I'm walking, I'm looking up at the sky because there's some clear spots even in my neighborhood. I can see the sky, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. And I see this light. It looks like an airplane flying, and then it disappears.
hmm,
Well, it had flown into a cloud,
yes. I
but
was going
at
to say
night,
there, you can't see.
when that happens and the light just disappears, it eventually got close enough to the edge of the cloud that you could see the glow, and then it reappeared, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it's easy to get that.
It's a disorientation,
Yeah, right.
right? And,
So,
and depth perception is lost with
mhm,
the lack of light. I get it.
right.
Um, well, let me see this. Let's see this comment from Bert. Universe is too vast for there to not have other intelligent life. If we ever get to space exploration, I'm sure we would inconspicuously study life on other planets. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
and which it's a natural curiosity. If there's something that's humanoid, be it like an alien coming to visit us, and we're humanoid and they're humanoid, but not the same,
Yeah,
you're going to want to know what you're dealing with,
of course.
and to abduct them to study it would be a normal thing that we would do. Like if we were going the other way, we would do it. And we don't have the Star Trek thing where we're not going to
Universal
interfere.
communicator.
What's that?
You need the universal communicator to
Well, that, which is another thing that I wanted to talk about, but the not interfering with other life. What was the
with the Prime
galactic
Directive. Yeah.
prime directive?
Thanks for letting me bring all my nerd out tonight. This is great. Appreciate you.
Um, but yeah, you were talking about how things were uh, telepathically communicated,
Yes. I
and
found that very interesting as well. I'm glad you
well,
brought it up.
but it makes sense because first of all, they may not have mouths, vocal cords, and things like we do anyway.
Right.
And I think again, I'm not diving off the deep end here. I mean, you may think I'm not, but I think we have a natural way of communicating like that we just haven't developed. And I think there's other beings that have developed, and it may be that we're it's through pictures, it's through visions. We may not have words to share, but there may be a way of communicating with these things that we just haven't developed yet.
Sure. Well, and in that premise, and this is fiction, of course, but the
Hmm.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, with the craft's true, reveal,
Yeah.
and it landing and coming in and so forth. We're using music and lights as communication,
Right.
and at that point, once the connection is made, then it just takes off on its own. And
Right.
luckily, we're not, making angry things. We're, we could have made it really mad, I guess. But that was really interesting in watching that, and it's been a minute since I've seen it, so I'm probably not doing it justice.
Right.
But that was to me like the moment where I realized it's not always about like, it's the Tarzan in the wilderness moment. When he's found like me, Tarzan, Eugene. It's not this
Right.
kind of clubby, bunky way of communicating. It really can be understandable and positive, something has an easy outcome that we can all understand. That's fascinating to me.
Okay.
And I'll go back a minute. We with respects to this to the northern Arizona location where Snowflake is and Heber and so forth. I've been in this area, and it is a vast open space still. 50 years ago, it was much more rural than it is now. Things have grown and developed but it is still part of a natural forest. The Apache forest, I forget the full name, I'm sorry, but the natural forest is still there. They were right on the edge of it. Um, that area is still wildly underdeveloped.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see more stuff. And I've said this on episodes before, when there is when you're away from the cities and you're in those open spaces, the Midwest is a great example as well, the wide open plains,
Mm-hmm.
the night sky is vast and wild, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get to see it often enough here on the East Coast and in places with high urban densities because we have such light pollution that we can't see above the lighting, that we've
Right.
created.
Right.
But if you ever get the chance, get out there
Mm-hmm.
wherever it is. Even in our area, if you get up into the Poconos or up into the mountains, wherever
Well,
you are, the Appalachians,
I
you
was,
get away from
yeah.
cities, you'll see this,
Um,
and you might see something really fascinating
mhm.
because of it.
In 2020, when we were shut down for COVID, I took the kids on a trip up to Coudersport,
Oh, okay.
um,
Yep.
Coudersport, Pennsylvania. There's actually a state park up there that has one of the best. Well, in the state, it's the best dark sky viewing area. Um, and if you spend half hour outside and let your eyes adjust, you can start to faintly see the um, Milky Way, things like that.
Mhm.
Long exposure I got some great long exposure stuff where it was amazing.
Hold
Uh,
on. You spent half an hour outside with your kids?
well, some of them
They
had
start
gone.
twitching at some point? What?
Um, but
That was years ago. Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think we had all this. M didn't have all the stuff at that point.
All right.
But anyway, the coolest thing was Alex and I were sitting there by a campfire. I think maybe Zoe was with us, and all of a sudden the sky was green,
Hmm.
and something had gone across the sky, some sort of shooting star or meteorite, like whatever. And it was about 10 seconds of this thing, and of course, you're gawking at it. You don't have your camera there. You don't have your phone.
Yeah,
It's too quick to try to react. But it was just amazing. And I'm assuming it was a meteor. It could have been something else, but
sure.
the green color that came off of it was so beautiful. It lit up everything.
That's
So,
fantastic.
but yeah.
I have seen shooting stars and things falling from the sky in the West as well, and
Mhm.
it's not common. It's not every night, and hopefully it's not anyway.
Right.
Getting bombarded, but when
Right.
you do see it, it is. First of all, it takes you a moment to realize what you're seeing, because
Mhm.
it's unusual, and
Right.
then the depth of it hits you, like that's really cool.
Right.
And it doesn't last long enough to, like you said, to get the camera up or be ready. You have to have it up and ready
Right.
already, which is you can't plan. But
Right.
if you're lucky enough, that's really super cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad you got to experience it. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It was good. And to experience it with a couple of the kids was like we just stood there and looked at each other like, what was that? So anyway, yeah, I'd rented a nice lens for the camera and everything. And did I have it out and ready to go? No.
Of course not. No,
So,
well, but you're ready in the daytime. And
yeah,
that's what we think of. I
yeah.
totally understand.
So anyway, no, it's an interesting topic, thought provoking.
Yeah. Well, before
Yeah.
we move on, I need to say something here. So, listeners, wherever you are in the world, if you feel you have seen a UFO, let us know. Drop us a comment. Let us know where you were, what happened, some kind of information about it. Or if you believe you've been abducted, the same. Drop us a comment.
Hmm.
Now, we're not here to judge. I'm not going to say it didn't happen. That's not us. We're paranormal investigators. We believe first, and we try to figure out what it was after.
Right.
I can't debunk your story. I won't. So full credit to that.
Yep.
But I'm really curious. I've seen strange things. I'll admit it first. And more than once. So I'm here to just to have a conversation about it.
So I'm going to throw it out there. Paranormal Lens Podcast at gmail.com is the quickest and easiest way for us to get stuff. But if you just want to comment on whatever media
whatever platform you're on, we'll see it too.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, we'd love to hear your story. If we get enough, we'd love to do a follow-up story.
Absolutely. So there will be more abduction stories. Eventually, we'll get there. I can't believe this is episode 125, and we're finally at an abduction. It's not our first UFO story.
Correct.
The Rendlesham Forest incident was one last season, but there's another one in there somewhere before then or after then. But it's our first abduction story, or episode. So more to come.
Yeah.
So
very cool. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate you digging into this one. And the truth is out there. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. So. We got to be careful saying it. We might get sued by Fox or something. I don't know. Oh well. I'll take it. I'll take the hit on that one.
So, should we talk about what's coming up?
Hold please. just got a comment here from Bert that we have to hold for a second. His actual says, "Don't move on yet. Heather is typing." So this is gonna be long.
Oh, no, I missed this
but well worth waiting for.
I missed this comment earlier. I'm sure that was
yeah, and not a bad thought either. In other words, we're behind the 8 ball, and going back to being out there in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I feel like we need to have some hold music here or something, like a little music happening. Here we go. All right. So Heather says, the thought of aliens scares me. I will take a haunted house filled with spirits over aliens any day.
And, you're
not wrong. Okay, I get you.
Let's dig into this a little bit. I get it, because from what we know of haunted houses and spirits, there's nothing physical about them. They're all energy. You get some poltergeist things.
I'm gonna call you on that for a second. What about poltergeist activity?
There's poltergeist activity, but for the most part, I think we have some control over that, like mental.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's complete control, but I think we have some control over that. Aliens are a physical being that's here and can touch you, can prod you, can poke you, so I get that.
Might not bring you back.
May take you away, right? We share the space with the ghosts and the spirits. Aliens are, we can't coexist in the same exact space with them because we're both physical objects. So,
yeah. Well, we say this often in investigations, and spirits are people.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk and treat them like people, humans, and aliens are technically not. So an extraterrestrial would not be that. So therefore there's a different variable relationship to them.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. It's a relationship. We just don't know.
and Heather has added exactly some control. Aliens, well, they're aliens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, I think it's definitely something to think about, and I get that. I'm not scared of the idea, but I understand why you could be.
Yeah, I get that. I'm the same spirit, unintended. I'm sorry, I use that term too often in this episode, on these episodes. But I'm in the boat with you on this. If it were to occur, I think I'd be fascinated by the experience. And as long as there's some awareness of what's happening, and here we go though. As soon as I said that, I'm like, okay, now there's conditions, so that's not in my control,
right? But again, here we go. We have power over spirits. Aliens have power over us. So, and if you don't remember your experience, hypnosis, the mind is an amazing thing. And we're finding that even if our mind is wiped through hypnosis, you can remember a lot of things. we'll get into this probably into next year at some point. But I've started following a friend who's does past life regression things,
Yes.
and what your mind holds even in a time that didn't exist is pretty amazing. So
Wow.
um,
Okay.
yeah. So I've started listening.
Episode.
Yeah, I started listening to some stories. I've read some or listened to books on tape now,
Ooh,
audiobooks.
wow. How old are you? Okay.
Yeah, audiobooks.
Yeah. Is it
And
an 8-track?
yeah, an 8-track. Pretty fascinating. So I'm going down the rabbit hole, Jamie. But anyway,
That's what we do.
it's So anyway, but again, thanks for bringing up this episode to us. It's
Sure.
yeah,
This was fun. I always say this, but like I've been aware of this for a long time. I literally have,
mhm.
and it just was time. And the anniversary was the catalyst. It's been on our schedule for like 9 months. It was the one thing off in the distance when we didn't have anything else.
Uh-huh.
If you noticed that or not. So
Right.
just waiting. Here we are. There's another comment. But definitely would pick aliens over clowns. Clowns? Nope. Okay, this is really going off the rails, but you're not wrong again. So I
Right.
get you.
So, well, let's move on. We're almost at that hour mark.
I know
Let's
what
move
I know
on.
what Heather's getting for Christmas now.
Oh, Jamie.
Wait. Oh
So let's see.
no, we're gonna do Travis Walton again.
I forgot to take that one out, but I did add
Hey,
some.
you had a busy week. All good.
Yeah, so I did add some new stuff to this. November 4th, which is right after Halloween, and I'm gonna be talking about celebrating the spirits, tales of Dia de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead. It's celebrating our ancestors, not necessarily telling ghost stories, but celebrating our ancestors, and I'll dig into that and unpack that one. November 11th, The Haunted Stronghold, Tales from the Castle of Good Hope,
Yep.
which is, I'm also going to call out, it's election day in Pennsylvania. So, is it general? No, it's primaries, right?
Yep. This is
Okay.
primary season.
So
So when you need a de-stressor from all of that activity, come see us.
come see us. Jamie's going to tell us about the Castle of Good Hope.
Yep.
November 18th, I'm going to continue the hauntings of the historic triangle and focus on Williamsburg, one of my favorite places to visit. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, buckle up, get your popcorn, get your beverages, go to the bathroom, because it's going to be an evening with Steve Dills. I'll be away, but Jamie is going to take the helm.
I'm not. Steve is. I'm gonna press play, and then he's gonna go. So
So that'll be a fun episode. It always is a great time when Steve is here.
absolutely.
And then December 2nd, December already, Jamie?
Amazing
TDSC, the Digital Seance
experience.
Okay. I couldn't remember the E.
Mhm.
Ron Iacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez. Again, another.
They're going to talk about whatever they want to talk about too.
Right.
So it's gonna be great.
Yep. So
2 fantastic weeks of guests. It's kind of like a paranormal person's dream right there. So
mhm.
yeah.
So all right, and then we got some other great things lined up after that. But dude, we're running out of room on the slide.
Yep. The
Um,
font can't get any smaller and still be readable.
um, sorry.
I get choked up over this stuff too, dude. I totally understand.
November 8th, we're paranormal investigation at Booby's Brewery. There are only 8 tickets left. And Jamie, this is one that had a higher opening ticketing. So we're
Yeah.
at like 32 guests already.
Amazing. Well,
So,
it's not the end of spooky season quite yet. So
right.
like early November still carries in.
Mhm.
And yeah. So
And
get them while you can.
And currently we have December 6th on the books. There's still quite a few tickets left for that one, but they are selling. So get them while you can.
Yeah. That's it for the year.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then after that, it's where you can contact us. We love to hear from people. If you want more information about us or Jotnick's Paranormal, check out the website at jotnicksparanormal.com, which is JOTT-NixParanormal.com. You can find information about the podcast. You can find out information about the team. If you have something going on and you want us to come investigate, there's contact forms that will get sent out to the appropriate people. So check that out.
Yep.
If you want to drop us a comment and tell us how we're doing, whether you like us or not, Paranormal Lens Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'd like to get some listener emails instead of the spam that we get every day. So reach out to us. We'd appreciate it. If you want to check out all our links to our Facebook and our YouTube and all that stuff, it's Linktree/Paranormal Lens, which is linktr.ee/Paranormal Lens. If you search Paranormal Lens on Google, we're coming up pretty high up there, aren't we, Jamie?
Yep. Yeah, I'll find us right away. So pretty quick,
Yep.
pretty easy.
I forgot to mention it last week, Jamie, but we're officially in 40 countries with our Spotify.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
Chad, there's about 192 countries in the world,
mm-hmm.
and we have been heard in 40 of them. So that's really cool.
That's about 25%.
Yeah, and honestly, too, think about this for a second. The world is covered by about 80% of water,
mm-hmm.
and if we cover 20%, that's some funky math to say we cover the rest of it. Maybe.
Yeah,
No?
Sure. Yeah,
sure. It's getting late. Let's just roll with it.
Yeah. So anyway,
if you were a professional wrestling fan at this point, I would say that's Steiner math. And if you know, you know.
So
okay.
All right. Well, Jamie, do you have any closing thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just again, if you've seen a UFO or if you have an abduction story or aware of one, let us know. Drop us that line, and let's talk about it and share it out. We don't need to put it forward to the world for you unless you want us to. But with that, it's a curious question, and as far and wide as we are reached, we're really somebody's got to have something. So let us know.
Yeah, sounds good. So, well, let me wrap this episode up. I'm going to say, decades later, we're still chasing answers in the Travis Walton case. Was it a hoax, a shared delusion, or a general contact with something not of this world? The truth, as always, may lie somewhere in between. So until next time, stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Good night, everybody.